Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome to another edition of Courtyard Mobility. Today we brought things inside. We've been slightly absent this week, but we are back for another session, a weekend special. Today guys, we are going to be talking about the importance of dorsiflexion and plantarflexion of the ankle. Alright, I've set up a little demonstration, and today what we are going to do is we are going to be using a shoe and our trusty ladle that has been featured in episodes before. So guys, I want to do like a little kind of demonstration here. We're going to obviously have our shoe demonstrating our foot or representing our foot, and I'm going to bring my ladle in and I'm going to pop this ladle into the shoe. This ladle is going to represent our tibia, okay? So the kind of, if I had to bring my leg up here, this bottom limb over here, okay? So guys, getting into dorsiflexion and plantarflexion. So we're going to start off with dorsiflexion. What is dorsiflexion? Okay, dorsiflexion can be seen in two ways. The ability to lift our toes up, okay, but also the ability for our shin to move forward, okay, so basically getting those knees right over the toe. All right, so dorsiflexion. Basically, the muscles really focusing in dorsiflexion are the muscles on the front portion of your shin, okay? The major ones. The major muscle working there, your tibialis anterior, okay? So, dorsiflexion. Let's kind of think about it. So, why is dorsiflexion important? Okay, so first up, I'm going to talk more so in a closed chain and in an open chain position. So, let me describe what that is first. Open chain, let's say now you were sitting, would be the ability to pull this toe upwards, all right? Closed chain would be if I planted my foot and I had this tibia rotating forward and back. Okay, so let's first talk in a closed chain position. So if I lack the ability for this tibia to rotate forward, so let's say now some really good mobility would be able to really get that knee right over the toe, okay? So I've got really good dorsiflexion mobility, okay? But let's say now I'm restricted, okay? So my shin is only going to be able to get to about here, all right? It doesn't want to go any much further forward. So I only get to here, okay? So that's my mobility. Now I ask someone, please can you do 100 squats for me, all right? What is going to happen is that if they, as they descend into the squat, they're only getting to about there, there has to be a compensation somewhere up the chain in order for them to get into those positions required from a squat. Okay, so let's say now we get 100 squats in at 40 kgs. What is happening is that in order to stay nicely stacked, the torso higher up the chain is going to have to bend forward, or there's going to have to be more kind of influence up at the hip, maybe a little bit more at the knee. What happens then? If there's extra compensation up the chain and extra workload, it opens us up to injury. Okay, so someone comes into, let's say, the gym, you ask them to squat, and you notice that they're kind of in their squat, they're only getting that bottom limb to about that position. You must understand that they are going to have to put a hell of a lot more work up in the lower back, in the hips, even up into the upper back and shoulders for them to accomplish that movement. Bit of a red flag, bit of a warning sign going into your session. Okay, so it's important for us to be able to complete that movement. All right, next up, let's say that you are training, okay, in your training, your shin is only getting to about there. Okay, this is your range. You can go from there to there. You cannot access any movement much forward than that. So your knee isn't really getting over the toe. I then ask you, let's go do some sled pushes. All right, sled pushes where you know that that knee is going to be right over the toe. Okay, you do, let's say, 20 legs of sled pushing, and then after that you realize, shit, why are my knees sore? Okay, because the brain isn't able to recognize or / control this new range in which your knee is right over the toe and you are in an increased dorsiflexion. Okay, therefore it puts strain on the structures above and even below, which they are not familiar with. Okay, and in turn, more work there, a less known environment, injury can occur and is bound to happen. Okay, so again, sled push, all right, where you are right over and you are forcing into that dorsiflexion. The brain cannot control that range, and if it cannot control that range, somewhere else or something else has to step in to try and help it, and it can cause problem there. So what we are trying to get at there is learning to control a large range of motion, okay? Building into that range, getting strong in that range, learning to control it so that you are able to do these movements, right? Decreased dorsiflexion, I'm going to sleds, problem. All right, last up, the ability in more an open chain environment to lift this toe up, okay? So if I lack strength in my dorsiflexors, mainly speaking, your tibialis anterior, all right, and then I'm running, so there, into there, into there, okay, so plantar flexion, and then I'm coming, so let's say heel strike up, heel strike up. As I'm doing that, if I lack strength in those muscles, okay, eventually it is going to be or arise into an overuse environment. Areas in that shin are going to get particularly sore and angry, inflamed, whatever you want to call it, and there's bound to be injury. Mainly speaking, shin splints. Okay, if you are a runner, maybe throughout your career you will have experienced shin splints. It is not a pleasant condition to be in, and it takes a while to get back into running again. Okay, very, very debilitating if it does arise. So make sure that not only can you have that ability to get that knee over the toe, but you can also, or you also have the ability to lift those toes up, and that you have now strong shins. Okay, so that's dorsiflexion. Next up, we are going to talk about plantarflexion. Okay, so the ability, if this is my tibia again, to rise up onto those toes. Okay, super important, guys. If you are in sprinting, jumping, any performance sports which requires gait, jumping, anything like that, you need to have strong plantar flexors. Okay, plantar flexors being primarily your calves, gastrocnemius, both heads of them, soleus, and then you get your intricate little plantar flexors. Okay, so like I just said there, very important. Jump performance, sprinting performance, hell, even just normal running, you need to have strong plantar flexors. Okay, what happens if we do not have the strong ability to lift up onto the balls of our feet? Okay, so let's say now we have weak calves. So weaker calves, generally that muscle will tighten up a little bit, okay, in order to try and protect the structures above and below. So if we do not, like I said, have strong calves, we risk putting our Achilles tendon, so that big tendon that will sit at the back and towards the bottom, okay, if that is not controlled properly, we open up the risk for an Achilles tendinopathy. Okay, that tendon starting to get inflamed, or so when I say inflamed, I mean starting to get irritated, okay, and starts to degenerate. We don't want that, guys. Again, a tendinopathy can cause a lot of issues and can become a problem that is quite hard to fix. We also risk the rupture of the Achilles tendon. Okay, so say now you do not have that strong ability to really press up onto those toes as you're about to jump. So as we land and as we jump, we lack that strength there. That Achilles tendon takes all that load and snap goes the Achilles tendon. We do not want that. We need to try to prevent that by getting strong calves. Okay. Secondly, let's say now you do a lot of skipping. Okay. I've seen a lot of cases where people, even in the CrossFit kind of world, are doing a lot of double unders. Their calves are not strong enough to kind of handle the load of 200, 300, 400 double unders. And what happens is from us wanting those big calf muscles to work, actually the smaller plantar flexors being, let's say, your fibularis brevis or your tibialis posterior, okay, two kind of small muscles are going to pick up the extra load to try and compensate, and they are going to end up getting into, let's say, more a overuse type injury, okay, particularly tendinopathies. All right, the tendons which kind of sit, if I had to just show you, on the inside of the ankle or on the outside. All right, again, if we develop tendinopathies in that region, very difficult to get rid of and get back to the sport we want. So what do? We make sure that we get strong in that plantar flexion range. Okay, so even if we're doing our calf raises, we're doing our kind of open chain plantar flexion, anything, just to make sure those calves are strong, stable. All right, so guys, there is the kind of demonstration on why it is so important to have good dorsiflexion strength, good plantar flexion strength, but also the ability to dorsiflex and I'd say plantarflex in that closed chain position. Okay, my solutions, so taking away from this video, what would you take away from all of this kind of demonstration? Make sure that you have good dorsiflexion mobility. Okay, make sure those calves are not too tight, that Achilles tendon isn't kind of locked down or knotted up and is not restricted. Secondly, make sure that you have good dorsiflexion strength. So not only mobility and flexibility, but also strength. Okay? And then lastly, also having the right type of plantar flexion strength, whereas that we're not overworking those calves, but we're making them stronger through different types of exercises, especially in an eccentric manner. So if we were doing a calf raise, it wouldn't so much be the ability to do that, but it would be the ability to come down slowly while under load. Okay, really good for the Achilles tendon, and we'll make sure that those little intricate other smaller muscles are not overworking and causing problems. Right guys, so that's my little demonstration for today. That is why I recommend, or I would say, make sure you're focusing on your ankles. I know it's very common that we all like to do the cool exercises, squatting, deadlift, whatever, but make sure that this is catered for so that there are no problems down the line. Thank you guys for joining me on this weekend special. We'll be back next week for our Courtyard Mobility